A life of glitz and gloom. The grand sapphire ballroom danced with elegance and laughter, where chandeliers dripped with crystals like dewdrops on a summer morning. It was the kind of event that whispered of privilege and prestige, and Victoria Sterling felt like a ghost among its living. As she twirled in her designer gown, the fabric shimmering beneath the twinkling lights, a smile graced her lips, though it did little to reflect her heart's true sentiment. "Victoria! Over here," called out her friend Lily, gesturing animatedly from across the room. Victoria waved back, feigning enthusiasm while her mind wandered to thoughts of longing and isolation. She recognized the faces that surrounded her, polished, perfect, and oblivious to the weight of expectation pressing down on her shoulders. To them, she was just the heiress of the sterling fortune, a diamond in their glittering crown, not a woman seeking something real. As she made her way through the throngs of admirers, Victoria paused to watch an elderly couple swaying together in a corner, eyes locked in an embrace that spoke of true partnership. A pang of envy twisted within her as she recalled countless dinners filled with hollow conversation, her eligibility touted by her mother while potential suitors exchanged rehearsed compliments. "You could have anyone," they'd say, as if she were a prize to be won rather than a person to be cherished. "Isn't it enchanting?" Lily's voice pulled her back to the present, her blue eyes sparkling with delight. "All these suitors clamoring for your attention. You really should be enjoying yourself." "Of course, how could I forget?" Victoria replied, her tone light but devoid of genuine enthusiasm. Nothing like an evening filled with cheerful small talk and empty flattery. She lifted her glass of sparkling water, reflecting on how, in a room full of laughter, she felt heartbreakingly alone. Lily, oblivious to the disquiet in her friend's heart, chattered on about the latest gossip and the charming gentleman who had just arrived. "He's handsome and from a good family. You should go speak to him." With a practiced smile, Victoria nodded but instead retreated to a quiet balcony that overlooked the twinkling cityscape. The cool night air mingled with the warmth of her bottled emotions as she leaned against the railing, longing for a life beyond this gilded cage. "I've been told I can have anything," she murmured to herself, gazing at the stars twinkling above like elusive wishes. "But when will I find someone who truly sees me?" Thinking of jumping, a playful voice interrupted her thoughts. Victoria turned to find a tall, handsome man with tousled dark hair and warm brown eyes peering at her with curiosity and mischief. He wore a casual yet stylish navy suit that set him apart from the crowd of formal attire. "Hardly," Victoria replied, her momentary annoyance melting into intrigue. "Though at this point, anything seems more appealing than that room." He chuckled and stepped closer, a bemused smile playing on his lips. "You're not alone, you know. Everyone is just as lost in their own way in that ballroom." "Who are you?" she asked, her defenses slightly easing as they engaged in this unexpected exchange. "Jack. Just a guy in a suit trying to navigate a world I don't quite fit into." He leaned against the railing beside her, mirroring her earlier posture as he gazed thoughtfully at the stars. "What brings you to an event like this?" Victoria asked, genuinely interested. "I was dragged along by a friend who thinks I need to network," Jack replied with a touch of sarcasm, his eyes sparkling with life. "But honestly, I'm just here for the drinks and the view." Their laughter mingled in the night air, a refreshing sound amid the restrictive atmosphere of the gala. For the first time that evening, Victoria felt an inkling of freedom in Jack's presence. As the chatter faded, a moment of silence enveloped them, the stars their only audience. In that brief interlude, something shifted within Victoria, a realization that perhaps not all connection relied on wealth or status. Wouldn't it be nice to escape all of this? Just for a while? Victoria suggested, turning her gaze back to Jack, her heart racing as unexpected warmth blossomed between them. "Absolutely. I'd love to find a place where we're not judged by how much money we have or what label our clothes bear," Jack replied earnestly. But just as quickly as her heart fluttered, it also recoiled at the thought. Could she really abandon her life, even for a fleeting moment? Or would it be yet another indulgence in a world where truth lay hidden beneath layers of gold? In that moment of uncertainty, the echoes of gaiety rose once more as her mother's voice called to her from inside. "Victoria, Come back, dear. They're waiting for you. With a swift inhale, Victoria turned back toward the ballroom, conflicted and yearning to hold on to the magic of this newfound connection. A small taste of life beyond the bubbles of wealth and expectation. Let's do this again sometime, shall we? Jack said, his brown eyes glimmering with hope. Definitely, Victoria replied, her voice steady as she stepped back into the world that awaited her, but feeling, for the first time, the stirring of possibilities she dared not name. A new identity. The morning sun bathed the city in a golden hue, spilling light onto the streets that buzzed with life, a stark contrast to the silence that had settled within Victoria the night before. The exhilaration from her encounter with Jack lingered like the sweetest of dreams, transforming into a longing that beckoned her to break free from her gilded cage. There was a truth she yearned to explore, and it began with her leaving the estate behind, if only temporarily. The decision was finalized with a flutter in her stomach as she glanced at her reflection in the mirror. Gone were the flowing gowns and diamond-studded hairpieces, replaced by a simple auburn wig and a crisp, white waitress uniform she purchased from a local shop. If she were to find her true self, she needed to delve into a world far removed from excess. She could become Vicky, an ordinary waitress at the seaside shack, a quaint diner at the edge of her old life. Entering the diner for the first time was like stepping into an entirely different narrative. The clatter of dishes, laughter of patrons, and the delicious aroma of homemade pies wrapped her in warmth that felt markedly foreign. The decor was cozy, with weathered wooden tables, bright yellow walls adorned with local artwork, and large windows that overlooked the shimmering ocean. It was a haven of simplicity compared to the looming expanse of her family's estate. Welcome to the seaside shack. You must be the new girl. Marie Reynolds, the owner and the heart of the diner, greeted her with a radiant smile that lit up the room. Her salt and pepper hair danced with life as she approached, hands on her hips in a proud grandmotherly fashion. Yes. I'm Vicky, Victoria said, hesitating slightly as the thrill of her new identity swept through her. It felt both liberating and terrifying to introduce herself as someone else. Lovely to have you. Come on, let me show you around, Marie said, leading her toward the kitchen bustling with activity. The sound of pots clanging and sizzling food created a rhythm that resonated deep within Victoria, each note pulling her further into her adopted role. As the day went on, Vicky learned the ropes, taking orders, serving coffee, and finding the right balance between the ebb and flow of customers. With each interaction, each genuine smile and friendly chuckle, she felt the burden of her former life begin to lift. As she chatted with patrons, their honest stories ignited a curiosity within her that wealth had never offered. The most notable was Sam Carter, a sprightly retiree with a knack for storytelling. With weathered hands wrapped around a steaming mug, he regaled her with tales of his fishing days, captivating her with details that brought the sea to life as if she were casting lines herself. You know, kid, there's a special beauty in the simplicity of life, he said, leaning forward as if imparting a treasured secret. When you embrace it, you find the things that truly matter. Vicky nodded, excitement radiating through her. She felt a growing sense of satisfaction in her work, an energy building between her and the regulars that reminded her how alluring honesty could be. As lunchtime cascaded into afternoon, her heart lightened further with each passing hour. Eventually, she found herself politely rebuffing flirts from local suitors and realizing, rather shockingly, that she enjoyed being just Vicky, unencumbered by societal expectations. But then, amidst the laughter and the clinking of silverware, her heart skipped a beat. Jack Thompson entered the diner, sunlit waves of hair glistening in the cheerful atmosphere. Dressed casually in a t-shirt and jeans, he scanned the room until his gaze landed on her. A grin spread across his face, setting her nerves aflame. "Vicky, I didn't know you'd be here," he exclaimed, making his way to the counter. His eyes shone with genuine warmth, and she felt all other voices fade away in the lively diner. "Good to see you, Jack. What brings you to the seaside shack?" She tried to maintain her composure, masking the butterflies swirling in her stomach. "I heard about this place from my friend. Figured it was time to try something new, and now I see why. This place has character," he replied, taking a seat at the counter. Vicky busily prepared his coffee, a delightful adrenaline pumping through her veins, and for a moment, it felt as if the world had shrunk to just the two of them. "Not bad for a first day?" Jack asked, sipping from the mug she handed him. "Actually, it's been amazing," Vicky admitted, surprise tinging her own words. "More than I expected, really. There's something refreshing about this life." Jack leaned closer, curiosity sparkling in his brown eyes. "You look different somehow. Happier, maybe?" Blushing, she met his gaze. "Maybe being around honest people does that. You should try it sometime." Their laughter intertwined, a melody amidst the simple sounds of the diner, and Vicky felt it, an authentic connection unfurling like the petals of a flower. For the first time, she truly allowed herself to enjoy the moment, embracing the joy that bubbled up like waves crashing upon the shore. As the day waned and customers filtered out, Vicky felt a sense of belonging within the community that swirled around her. A new identity draped in warmth and camaraderie. Perhaps, just perhaps, she could withstand this life of ordinary joys. There was solace in escaping the eye of the storm for a while, and she found herself eager to dive deeper into the authenticity she hadn't known she was missing. For weeks she remained, immersing herself in her dual life, the rich tapestry of feelings and friendships weaving around her. The world she had left behind seemed a distant shadow, until the inevitable resurfaced, tugging at her tightly held secrets, inching closer like the tide destined to reclaim the shore. The color of connection. The summer sun poured through the large windows of the seaside shack, casting playful patterns on the wooden floor as waves crashed melodiously against the shore. Vicky stood behind the counter, serving dishes and jotting down orders, but her thoughts were pulled toward Jack, who became a regular fixture in her new life. He often visited, sometimes alone and other times accompanied by friends, but each encounter left her craving more. Today was no different. Jack had promised to return after his morning art class, and Vicky found herself stealing glances at the door while dodging the playful banter of her co-workers. With each passing minute, the excitement packed a punch in her chest, scattering butterflies like a raucous tide. Finally, Jack strolled in, holding a sketchbook under one arm, a habit of his she found utterly charming. His tousled hair was slightly windswept, and the blue of his shirt echoed the ocean just beyond the diner. He looked around with an appreciative eye that brought warmth to Vicky's cheeks. "Hey Vicky, check this out," he called, stepping towards her. He flung open the sketchbook, revealing rough sketches of the diner and its quirky customers. Vicky leaned closer, marveling at the way Jack captured the essence of each scene with striking lines and shades. "Wow, these are incredible," Vicky marveled, her eyes wide with admiration. "You make it look so alive." Jack beamed, the warmth in his demeanor palpable. "I could say the same about you. You bring so much energy to this place. It's like you breathe life into it." Laughter bubbled between them, wrapping around them like a soft embrace. "You flatter me," Vicky replied, attempting to mask her growing affection for him. "Just wait until I drop coffee on a customer." "Hey now, we wouldn't want that. At least not while I'm here," he winked, and Vicky couldn't suppress her laughter. As the diner grew busier with the lunchtime crowd, Vicky found herself in a whirlwind of service, but Jack remained nearby, occasionally offering assistance or cheering her on. For every plate she balanced, every drink she poured, she caught glimpses of Jack sketching the scene, his eyes dancing back and forth between the action and the canvas, capturing small, vivid details that threaded together in a beautiful tapestry. "Hey Vicky." A cheeky voice cut through her thoughts. It was Lou, her co-worker, a firecracker of a woman. "You've got an admirer." Vicky turned to see Jack raising an eyebrow in mock seriousness, sketchbook clutched tightly in his hands. It sent a warm wave rushing through her. "Me? Whatever do you mean?" she teased back, a light blush creeping onto her cheeks. "Definitely the case," Lou insisted, winking at Jack. "Got a future Picasso here, and he can't take his eyes off you. Better watch out, or you'll have an art gallery dedicated to waitress appreciation." "That sounds like a wonderful exhibit," Jack chimed in, laughter dancing in his words. "I just might take that route if I ever quit art." Vicky rolled her eyes playfully, but the growing intimacy of their banter set her heart racing. In every glance Jack cast her way, she felt a quiet affirmation growing, a connection swirling in colors that painted her world anew. Eventually, the lunch crowd tapered off, allowing Vicky and Jack to share moments without the chaotic buzz of orders and clattering plates. They settled at a table together, sunlight streaming through the window and illuminating their conversation. "I've started a new drawing series," Jack announced, leaning forward. "It's all about capturing the essence of different lives: a fisherman, a waitress, an heiress." Vicky interjected playfully, testing the waters of revelation. "Do I make the cut?" He paused, his brow furrowing slightly. "Well, I've not steered clear of that perspective," he admitted, his eyes searching hers. "What about you? How does being a waitress feel?" This question sent warmth blossoming to her cheeks again as Vicky hesitated, struck by an unexpected honesty. "It feels, I don't know, liberating. I get to see the world through different eyes. There's so much more to life than the social volleys of wealth." "Exactly." Jack leaned back, relief washing over his features. "That's what I try to capture in my art. Real moments from lives unfiltered. People deserve to be seen, really seen." His words resonated deep within her, a soothing balm to her longing self. It was this authenticity Jack so vibrantly sought, that she craved to embody herself. As they spoke, Vicky found herself revealing bits of her past, mixing truth with vulnerability. "I have to admit, this feels more real than any gathering I could attend in my previous life," she confessed, her voice laced with sincerity. "I'm thankful for the chance to connect with all of you like this. The best moments are those filled with genuine connection," Jack replied, the earnestness in his voice wrapping around her like a warm blanket. Just as their dialogue deepened, the bell above the door chimed, drawing their attention. A bustling group of affluent guests entered, dressed in tailored suits and designer dresses that defined the world Vicky had sought to escape. For a moment, she felt the air shift, an invisible wall creeping back in, threatening to close off the oasis she had begun to build with Jack. As the patrons settled into their seats, their laughter faded into vapid exchanges, drowning in lily-white smiles and pretense. Vicky felt a tightening in her chest as one of the women glanced her way with an appraising gaze, recognition flickering behind her eyes. "Vicky, you okay?" Jack's voice pulled her out of her thoughts, eyes focused on her intently. I think some of my old life just walked in," she admitted, worry etched in her expression. Jack reached for her hand, concern blooming in his gaze. "Don't let them take away what you've built here. You're more than a title, Vicky. You're the energy that makes this place pulsate with life." His words melted through the burgeoning tension, drawing her back to the present. No matter what shadows loomed, she had carved out a space filled with warmth, laughter, and painting her own identity. "Thanks, Jack," she whispered, gratitude overflowing as their hands lingered for a heartbeat longer than necessary. With laughter and kindness swirling around them, Vicky locked her gaze with Jack once again, anchoring herself in this moment. The meeting of hearts amidst the chaos painted colors that transcended the gray of superficiality. This was the beauty she had been waiting to discover, and it illuminated her soul, inviting her to embrace every color of connection. Secrets beneath the surface. The gentle hum of summer settled over the seaside shack, a familiar symphony of laughter, sizzling pans, and cheerful chatter. As patrons filtered in and out, Vicky worked diligently, her heart lifted by the camaraderie that enveloped her. With each passing day, her new life felt more like home. Yet, amid the tweets of laughter and the clink of silverware, a nagging uncertainty nibbled at the corners of her mind. It was a particularly bustling Friday afternoon when Jack walked in, a knowing smile etched across his face as he caught her eye. Today, he wore a casual navy blue shirt that accentuated his features, making it impossible for Vicky to keep her focus on her tasks. As he settled at the counter, she felt a rush of warmth swell in her chest. "Hi there, Vicky. How's the world of waitressing treating you?" he asked, flipping open his sketchbook, readying himself for another drawing session. "Actually, I'm somewhat of a natural," she replied, a repartee bubbling between them. "Serving pie and pouring coffee is much easier than navigating dinner parties, I assure you." Jack chuckled, his eyes sparkling with mischief. Well, you're definitely bringing life to the menu. As they engaged in friendly banter, sharing stories from their pasts, Vicky savored every moment. But beneath the surface of her vibrant facade loomed the shadows of her past that still haunted her. She felt an urge to confide in Jack, the genuine connection they shared tangled with an unshakable knot of fear. "Jack, can I ask you something?" she ventured, lowering her voice as the midday rush continued. "Is there anything you've kept from your friends? Something that weighs on you?" He arched an eyebrow, his curiosity piqued. "Sure, I suppose. Everyone carries their secrets, don't they?" "Yeah, I guess so," she said, her heart racing as she navigated her thoughts. "It's just, I feel like I have so many layers. Some from my old life, and some from this new one." His expression softened, and he set down his sketchpad. "You know you can talk to me, right?" His reassurance sent a wave of warmth washing over her. Yet, as the words hovered in the air, Vicky found herself hesitating. Fear gnawed at her. What would Jack think if he knew who she truly was? Maybe it's too soon, she finally decided, disguising her uncertainty with a smile. "Let's talk about something lighter, like your art." "Fair enough," he said, but she saw the flicker of concern in his eyes. They resumed their playful exchange, yet the thread of vulnerability that lingered made her heart thud with anxiety. As the hours passed and the sun dipped lower in the sky, Vicky's mind drifted between light-hearted conversation and the weight of her hidden identity. Just as she was beginning to feel a semblance of ease, the bell above the door chimed, announcing the entrance of a group of elegant diners. To her dismay, among them was Patricia, an old friend from her past life, a striking woman in designer attire that mirrored the polished decorum of their shared world. Patricia spotted Vicky instantly. Her expression shifted from surprise to recognition within seconds. "Vicky, it's been ages." Patricia's voice was a high pitch that rang across the diner like a bell, drawing eyes toward them. "Patricia." Vicky forced a smile as she approached, her heart racing. "What brings you here?" "Just catching up with friends." "How quaint it is to see you serving here," she replied, her tone laced with thinly veiled condescension. "Didn't you used to have dinner parties at the Sterling estate? Surely you're not adjusting to this lifestyle." The laughter and chatter of the diner seemed to dim as her words dripped with judgment. Vicky fought against her instinct to flee as the familiar weight of her past resurfaced, each word like a chain tightening around her. "I'm enjoying it," she replied, voice steady but trembling inside. "There's beauty in every facet of life, you know." Patricia smirked, glancing at the other diners, who were clearly taking interest in their exchange. "Right, of course. Just don't forget where you came from." With that, she flounced away with her friends, leaving a coldness that sank into Vicky's bones. Her thoughts spiraled, dredging up memories of glittering galas, hollow conversations, and the ever-present expectation to perform. Suddenly, Vicky felt a warm hand clasp over her shoulder. It was Jack, concern etched in his features. "Are you all right?" With a swallowed lump in her throat, she nodded, fighting against the swell of emotion and betrayal. "Yeah, just an old friend." His grip tightened slightly, grounding her amidst the chaos of her thoughts. "You don't have to wear a mask here. Just be yourself, Vicky." The sincerity in his voice sent a shiver through her. Could she really unburden her truth, let him in on her secrets? Vicky wanted desperately to divulge the weight she carried, but fear gripped her. The specter of rejection loomed large in her mind. "Thank you, Jack. It's just life from before feels miles away," she admitted quietly, catching a glimpse of the honesty that had blossomed between them like a delicate flower. "That's all it is, Vicky, just life. It doesn't define you. What matters is how you feel now," he replied. She inhaled slowly, the tightness in her chest beginning to ease. "You're right, I just need time to recalibrate." She offered him a soft smile, sensing the friendship deepening further. He returned her smile, pulling back slightly to study her face. "I'm here for you, whatever you decide to share. Just remember, the real magic of life lies beneath the surface, waiting to be discovered." With those words, Vicky felt a tremor of understanding roll through her, a spark of hope igniting within her soul. In this ordinary diner that had become her sanctuary, perhaps she could dare to be herself, to peel away the layers that had overshadowed her heart. As the day wound down and the sun dipped lower, twisting colors into rich oranges and purples, Vicky released a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. For the first time, she sensed the possibility of unveiling her secrets, not just to Jack but to herself. In this moment of tranquility, she could see a pathway unfurling before her, weaving from shadows into light. Love in the balance. The summer sun cast long shadows across the bustling town, painting the sidewalks with a warm, golden hue that was almost too enchanting to bear. Vicky hurried to the seaside shack, her heart fluttering with excitement at the thought of seeing Jack again. They had spent more time together recently, and the connections forged between them felt as intimate as the waves lapping against the shore. As Vicky clocked in, the morning crowd trickled in, and her spirits soared with familiar exchanges, the warmth of laughter settling around her like a cozy shawl. Jack had promised to stop by after his art workshop in the nearby town, and the anticipation made her work feel like a dance. But as an unanticipated chill washed over her, she couldn't help but feel a weight pressing down on her, one that seemed to grow heavier with each passing moment. It was a nagging fear that had taken root since Patricia's arrival at the diner. It was the uncomfortable knowledge that her secret identity as an heiress was not lost. What would happen if Jack found out exactly who she was? Would he turn away like everyone else she had met, the ones more interested in her wealth than her heart? Just as Vicky was lost in her thoughts, the door swung open, and Jack entered, his hair tousled by the gentle ocean breeze. Her heart raced at the sight of his familiar grin. He made his way to the counter, where she stood, feeling the edges of her worries soften beneath the solace of his presence. "Hey there, Vicky. Ready for another round of good coffee and even better company?" he teased, his bright eyes sparkling. "Always," she replied, a genuine smile forming on her lips despite the turbulence inside her. As the morning flowed into the afternoon, they shared light-hearted banter while serving customers, and Vicky felt the delightful connection between them strengthen. They talked about everything: his aspirations in art, her newfound joy in waitressing, and even the friends that frequented the diner. But under the surface, Vicky sensed an unspoken tension beginning to build. "Vicky, I wanted to show you something," Jack said suddenly, interrupting her musings as he pulled a small painting from his bag. The moment he revealed it, Vicky gasped. The artwork depicted the seaside shack, with vibrant waves crashing against it, captured with colors that danced joyfully on the canvas. "This is incredible, Jack," she exclaimed, her heart swelling with pride. "You've captured the essence of the diner perfectly." "Thanks. I wanted it to reflect how I feel when I'm here," he said, a slightly shy smile touching his lips. "But it doesn't just capture the diner, you're part of it now." Vicky felt the heat rush to her cheeks as their eyes locked for a moment, the air between them thickening with unspoken feelings. Then, the bell above the door chimed, announcing a large group of customers, businessmen in crisp suits and designer dresses. The familiar dread settled over her once more. They were the kind of people sent to observe, scrutinize, and judge. As the new guests filled the diner, Vicky moved into her routine, pouring coffee and serving meals. Jack, however, stayed close, sketching scenes that caught his attention. With each delicate stroke of his pencil, he seemed to pull her further into his world, a world where art and honesty thrived. But when a voice floated on the air, slicing through her focus, the soothing quality of the moment shattered. "Is that really you, Vicky Sterling?" A tall, impeccably dressed woman strutted up to the counter, and everyone turned, eyes wide with intrigue. "Yes," Vicky replied instinctively, her heart racing, already bracing for the inevitable wave of judgment. The pressure of her identity weighed heavily on her. "Wow, what a surprise to find you here, working as a waitress," the woman continued, her tone dripping with mockery. "Didn't you used to host galas for the elite? What a quaint change of pace." Vicky fought hard to maintain her composure, heat creeping through her cheeks. "I'm enjoying my time here, actually," she replied, forcing a smile while the knot in her stomach tightened. As the woman laughed, Jack stepped forward, an edge to his voice. "What's quaint is judging someone for how they choose to live their life. Vicky adds a certain magic to this place. His loyalty flared brightly, drawing a slight smile from Vicky amidst her turmoil. The room froze as patrons looked between them, tension strung tight. But then a peculiar thing happened. The laughter from the group dissipated, the air thick with discomfort. The woman, caught off guard by Jack's unflinching defense, lost her bravado and scoffed before turning away. Vicky looked at Jack, her heart swelling with gratitude and admiration. But as the moments passed, fear began to seep back in. "Jack, thank you. But this is exactly what I was afraid of. I don't want my old life to intrude on this." "Vicky," he caught her gaze with an intensity that made her heart skip. "You can't keep running from who you are. Hiding your past won't change how special you are now." At that moment, Vicky felt an overwhelming swell of emotions. The exhilaration of connection entwined with the fear of exposure. They stood at the precipice of something profound, and the chasm beneath seemed dizzying. "Maybe I just want to enjoy this newfound freedom without all the complications," she confessed, vulnerable. "I get it," he said softly, his voice gentle. "But keeping a part of yourself hidden will only hold you back. You deserve something real, and that means accepting all of who you are." The raw honesty in Jack's words reverberated deep within her, igniting a yearning she could no longer ignore. Yet, as the weight of her duality pressed closer, anxiety swirled within. Could she reveal her entire self to him, risking the connection they had built so carefully? With dusk fast approaching, the diner began to empty, the day fading behind sparkling gold and deepening violet skies. Vicky stood at the edge of venturing into unknown territory, to balance the love she felt for Jack against the secrets that threatened to bind her. As Jack finished up the drawings, his gaze unwavering, Vicky contemplated the path forward. Love felt profoundly significant, yet the shadows of her past loomed ominously nearby. The fabric of their connection was woven tightly, waiting patiently for her next thread, a choice between honesty and fear. The stakes were high, their hearts delicately suspended in the balance. And for the first time, Vicky questioned whether she could truly embrace both her identities without losing something precious in the process. All that remained was to muster the courage that had eluded her for far too long. Embracing the heart. The soft glow of morning light streamed through the windows of the seaside shack, casting a warm golden hue over the bustling diner. A gentle breeze carried the scent of salt and fresh pastries, enticing the regulars who streamed in for their morning fix. Vicky felt a mix of excitement and trepidation stir within her as she prepared for another day, heart still trembling from the events of last night. Jack's piercing gaze and earnest words echoed in her mind. She needed to confront the truth of her identity. After serving her early morning guests, Vicky stood in the kitchen, lost in thought as she kneaded dough, the rhythm grounding her. Soon enough, the door chimed, breaking her concentration. Looking up, she saw Jack enter, his presence lighting up the room. He strolled to the counter, that familiar smile etching lines of warmth across his face. "Good morning, Vicky. Ready for another day of adventure?" he asked, his eyes sparkling with life. "Adventure? More like organized chaos," she replied with a light laugh, her heart fluttering. The interactions with Jack always made her feel alive, each word pulling her deeper into a connection she yearned to explore further. "Let's not forget that chaotic mornings can be the most fun," he countered, glancing around the diner with enthusiasm. "The energy here is infectious." As Jack joined Vicky behind the counter, he helped serve trays and fill up drinks, their natural camaraderie evolving into a rhythm that felt effortless. With each shared smile and easy laugh, Vicky felt the walls she had built around her heart begin to weaken. Yet, the heaviness of her hidden truth loomed larger. Later, with the morning rush having settled, they found a quiet table in a nook, where the sunlight filtered softly through the windows. They both sank into familiar conversation, Jack sketching while Vicky absent-mindedly prepared notes for her busy afternoon. "Hey," Jack said abruptly, his brow furrowed in contemplation. "You haven't talked about your family much. What are they like?" Vicky's stomach twisted involuntarily at the mention of her family, the very reason for her self-imposed exile. "They're complicated. Let's just say they have their own expectations of how I should live my life." A flicker of concern crossed Jack's face. Expectations? That sounds intense. It was more than just intense, she replied, tracing the rim of her coffee mug. In my world, it's all about presenting the perfect image, charm, and wealth, not about being true to oneself. Jack leaned closer, his voice dropping to a gentle whisper. You don't have to pretend here, Vicky. I see parts of you that shine. Just remember, authenticity shines brighter than any facade. His words struck a chord deep within her, igniting a flutter of courage. I wish it were that easy, she confessed, vulnerability creeping into her voice. I'm scared that revealing my past will ruin what we have. Silence enveloped them, the weight of the moment pressing down as Jack's gaze bore into her. What makes you think it would ruin anything? I'm here for you, Vicky. I want to understand. Why did it feel so difficult to uproot the truth that had taken root? The truth she had long hidden in the shadows, shrouded in fear and shame. Vicky took a deep breath, heart racing as emotions crashed over her like powerful waves. I can't keep hiding from you, Jack. I used to be a part of that world, the world of wealth and privilege. I'm Victoria Sterling, the heiress. The confession hung in the air, reverberating through her like a distant thunderclap. She held her breath, bracing for his response, a part of her fearing rejection while another longed for acceptance. Victoria Sterling, he repeated slowly, tilting his head slightly as he processed the revelation. The silence felt like an eternity, his keen gaze measuring the beats of her heart. So, you are who I thought. But tell me, how does that define you now? What do you mean? Vicky looked down, tracing patterns on the tablecloth as she avoided his gaze. I mean, being an heiress doesn't define who you are today. Look at you, you've taken a brave step to work here, to experience life from a different angle. The past may be a part of you, but it's not who you are anymore. Vicky's heart swelled in her chest, mixed with relief and residual fear. But my past is full of expectations and pressure. I'm afraid it'll change how you see me. The real me, she whispered, vulnerability lacing her words. Jack reached across the table, holding her hand in his. All I see is how genuinely you care for others, how much you want to be rooted in who you are today. You could have chosen to remain in your world, but you're here, and that speaks volumes. As she met his gaze, Vicky felt the last of her hesitation begin to crumble. She had waited so long for acceptance, to feel like she belonged, but she had also been terrified of exposure. What if they don't accept me? What if my past taints this? Then they're missing out on the person you've become, Jack replied, his voice steady and reassuring. You have the power to carve out your own identity. This is your life, not their expectations. Vicky squeezed his hand, an emotional turmoil swirling within her. She let the weight of his unwavering support wash over her, grounding her like the solid earth beneath her feet. The fear that had held her back began to loosen its grip, and she allowed herself to lean into the warmth of his presence. What if I take that leap? She breathed, heart thrumming with newfound courage. What if I embrace the heart I've neglected? Jack's smile lit up his face, a genuine beam of encouragement that made her spirit soar. I'd say that's one of the bravest things you can do. Every layer you strip away will reveal an even more beautiful you. Without another word, Vicky felt herself enveloped in a wave of clarity, as if the fog of uncertainty had lifted. She could navigate her past and present, shaping them with intention. The love blossoming between her and Jack didn't have to be marred by the shadows of her former identity. It could flourish in the light of her truth. The morning light streamed through the window as Vicky realized that embracing her heart meant allowing herself the freedom to be wholly her. In that warm embrace of connection, she felt closer to Jack than ever before. A partner in this journey of discovery. With every heartbeat, Vicky understood her past would serve as a stepping stone, guiding her toward a future where she could truly be herself. Embracing the heart meant tackling her fears head-on. She cherished their love and recognized that its strength lay in authenticity. With a final squeeze of Jack's hand, she knew she would take the leap, allowing the tides of her true self to rush forth, ready to embrace whatever awaited her on this beautiful journey of love and self-discovery. Did you enjoy this video? If so, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to join us for more amazing stories every day. Here at Daily Anything History, there's always something new to discover. See you in the next video.